EMZT Radio is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audio download and a free 30-day trial at audibletrial.com/EMZT. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Who's in the box? What's in the box?
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in.
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
You're staying. This isn't a democracy anymore.
This is now the United States of
EMZT Radio.
They mostly come at night. Mostly.
And welcome to another episode of EMZT Radio. It is the infamous one. It is your friendly space pope. The infamous MJ has arrived. All by himself right now. We do have to apologize for last week. A lot of things went down last week. Bane did do some tracks last week, and then I had a wreck, and on top of that, I got bronchitis. So it was very difficult to put together a podcast, but we have taken care of that issue this week, so we're going to combine. It's going to be kind of a super show, I guess you can say, as we have two wonderful people on the show today. Augie Peterson will stop by here in a couple of minutes, talking about Night Vision, which was a book she released last October. And our friend Bessy Adut will be by a little bit later too, talking about her movie Escape Room. So two interviews you definitely want to check out. Hopefully you'll stick around and listen to them as we play a little tunage right now on EMZT Radio.
But can you handle midnight movies 24 hours a day?
Your death will be indescribable.
Find out on Black Flag TV. The first viral television on the web. Black Flag TV is entirely dedicated to haunting horror, science fiction, and cult movies. Broadcasting live 24 hours a day, obscure independent movies and classic horror. Make Black Flag TV your sanctuary for the horror genre.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Visit us now, blackflag.tv.
From DreadCentral.com, 9 terrifying moments from kids' movies that haunted our childhoods. In retrospect, 1980s kids were subjected to a litany of scares that would be considered highly inappropriate by today's standards, perhaps explaining our generation's intense love of horror. Return with me now to those terrifying days of yesteryear with 9 terrifying moments from kids' movies that haunted our childhoods. The Tunnel of Terror in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, 1971. The only film on this list that wasn't produced and released in the 1980s is nonetheless one every child of the era has seen, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory from 1971. I was really unnerved by the tall man in the trench coat and the bizarre antics of Gene Wilder's Wonka, but that boat ride scene completely destroyed my childhood. It wasn't the chicken decapitation or the centipedes that rattled me, it was Wonka's unhinged shrieking. To this day, the scene gives me the willies, pun intended. Wilder truly channels the dangerous intensity of a lunatic. Gamork attacks Atreyu in The Never-Ending Story, 1984. The Never-Ending Story was an exciting alternative in the Disney-dominated landscape of kids' movies in the 1980s. Exciting and dark. But a kid trapped in an attic, a horse drowning in a swamp, a nihilistic turtle, and a devastating void all paled in comparison to Atreyu's confrontation with the insidious Gamork. Those green eyes staring out from the cave froze my blood. The fact that it could speak made it infinitely more terrifying. This wasn't some primal beast. This agent of the great nothing was a cunning and merciless villain. The matter-of-fact way it informed Atreyu that he would be his last victim was beyond bleak. When the monster attacked as thunder roared and lightning struck, I screamed. Though many aspects of the Never-Ending Story show their age, this moment remains objectively as scary as any horror movie werewolf attack. The Wheelers Descend in Return to Oz, 1985. When Dorothy, played by Judy Garland, first arrived in Oz back in 1939, she was greeted by a community of cheerful munchkins. When Dorothy, reprised by Fairuza Balk, returned to Oz in 1985, her reception was much colder. The eerie silence of a seemingly abandoned wasteland was broken by an assault of Wheelers, colorful, mechanically enhanced cousins of the Wicked Witch's flying monkeys. As adults, we can laugh at the impracticality of villains who can't even maneuver stairs, but we weren't laughing as kids, I promise you that. While the Hall of Heads, an unintentionally terrifying Jack Pumpkinhead, and a truly demonic Gnome King are perhaps the scariest moments of Return to Oz, the sudden and unexpected arrival of the Wheelers was a truly devastating moment. It obliterated all our happy memories of Oz in an instant, transforming the land of enchantment into a labyrinth of evil. The Emperor turns to ash in The Dark Crystal, 1982. Over 35 years after its release, The Dark Crystal remains a unique and beautiful anomaly. Jim Henson's G-rated Muppets were left in the workshop. This film was populated by fascinating and terrifying characters, conveying a tale that wasn't dumbed down for its audience. These factors give the film profound resonance and contribute to its status as an enduring classic. Like the title warns, this film is dark. The Skeksis are demonic, Aughra is arresting, and the Garthim are pure nightmare fuel. The process of draining pod people of the essence and stabbing death of Kira are horrifying, but it was the death of the Skeksis Emperor that really hit me like a ton of bricks. There was something metaphysically terrifying about this moment. Not only is the idea of a creature crumbling into ash creepy as hell, but the effect was gasp-inducing. As a child, it was something I've never seen before, a concept I've never imagined, and it floored me. Death had never been conveyed with such shocking profundity. The lab rats are injected in The Secret of NIMH, 1982. When I sat in the theaters in 1982, I don't think I realized that The Secret of NIMH wasn't a Disney movie, but I realized soon enough Mickey and Minnie weren't hanging with these rodents. The great owl was petrifying, and the finale was as harrowing as anything my young psyche had yet experienced. But it was the flashback of experiments conducted on lab rats that stuck with me and haunted my childhood. It wasn't just the brilliant animation that powerfully conveyed the rats' pain as syringes were plunged into their bellies. It was a brutal moment of education they don't teach kids in school. It was my first introduction to the realities of animal experimentation, and the fact that grown-ups would perpetrate such atrocities felt like a betrayal. The ending of The Time Bandits, 1981. In retrospect, it was irresponsible of any of our parents to think that Time Bandits was a kids' movie just because the main character was an 11-year-old boy. In 1981, the only other film Terry Gilliam had directed was Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Yes, Time Bandits is funny and exciting with motifs common to kid-friendly time travel fiction, but the film is nearly hopelessly bleak from start to finish. Kevin is completely neglected by his parents and essentially kidnapped by a troupe of interdimensional robbers. He's made complicit in a series of crimes throughout many dangerous eras, forced to endure wars and even the sinking of the Titanic. Eventually, Kevin is dragged into another realm of ultimate darkness. Though triumphing over evil personified, he's abandoned by God before returning home, only to find his home engulfed in a blazing inferno. Though rescued by firemen, Kevin's parents didn't even realize he was missing and are soon reduced to piles of ash by a stray bit of consecrated evil. The friendly firemen take little notice, leaving our young protagonist utterly alone. Faces melt in Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. A lot of my peers will count the human sacrifice scene from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom as the most terrifying moments of their childhood. After what I'd endured in Raiders of the Lost Ark, I was ready for anything. Since it gets less attention than its predecessors, bonus fact, Temple of Doom is a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think people forget just how scary Raiders really is. Its world's darker and grittier than Doom, which has colorful comic book palette by comparison, not to mention a clear emphasis on comedy. The spiders, the snakes, the booby traps, they all put monkey brains and extracted hearts to shame. But the climax of Raiders of the Lost Ark is more intense than most horror movies, past and present. The face-melting evoked Cold War-era fears of nuclear annihilation, and the idea of a vengeful god was devastating. The death of Shoo in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 1988. I was especially traumatized by a moment in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The hard-boiled plot, loaded with barely veiled sexual innuendo, was, for the most part, completely buried beneath a cacophony of cameos from just about every cartoon character ever penned. But it wasn't the fever nightmares of Roger's mania or even the emergence of Judge Doom's true form that devastated me. It was the execution of poor Shoo, a paradigm of animated innocence unceremoniously dropped into a barrel of dip, a toxic concoction made from turpentine, acetone, and benzene. Most kids in their early teens couldn't stop thinking about Jessica Rabbit. I was haunted by the death of Shoo. Supercomputer makes a human cyborg in Superman 3, 1983. There's an evil streak that runs throughout Superman 3, the third film to feature Christopher Reeves as the title Man of Steel. While Superman 2 had its dark spots, specifically the devastation caused by Zod and his companions, there's an undercurrent in Richard Lester's follow-up that's absolutely wicked, containing a scene that contributed to the destruction of my childhood. A makeshift batch of kryptonite turns Superman into an immoral, selfish thug before he participates in a troubling fight to the death with himself. But as unsettling as the concept of an evil Superman may be, the scene where the supercomputer turns Vera into a cyborg was some next-level shit for me. And you are listening to EMZT Radio.
You are now listening to EMZT Radio.
The show that puts the story back into history.
History is all about discovering the why. And I think that in that process, it's important to never take the story out of history.
Making history come alive, one episode at a time.
But this is a podcast on the American Revolution for this series, and it's all about a free country, so do whatever the hell you want.
Visit theMondayAmerican.com to get more. Dive into the Monday American. Don't worry, we'll be gentle.
And for our continuing celebration of Women in Horror Month, which is this month, we have with us today Augie Peterson, who's a writer, recently did a collection of short horror stories, Night Vision. Welcome, Augie.
Hi.
Hi. Is Night Vision, is that your own anthology of stories, or are you part of an anthology?
Yeah, no, that was just kind of my first run of self-publishing, because I knew I wanted to get into it, but I wanted to test run it before I kind of released a novel. So I just got a bunch of short stories together and I published it myself.
All right. So what kind of stories are we looking at for, I know they're horror, but I mean, what kind are we talking about?
It's primarily psychological horror, because in college I was a psych major, and I always got real excited about learning about the human brain and what it's capable of. So I like to play on people's emotions and write stories that scare you in a different way than zombies and demons and stuff like that. So I try to get in your head, and then I like to end my stories a little differently than most. I like to let the reader finish the story. So a lot of them are up for interpretation, or people get really frustrated with the endings because they're like, it's not an ending, you just stopped in the middle of the sentence. I don't know what happened. I want more. But I don't like to give people more. I like to let them kind of figure out what it was that happened. So it's a lot of stories like that. There's a couple written in first person. There's a couple in second person. So you get a nice wide range of stories that are in there. Do you want me to talk about specific stories that are in the collection?
If you like.
Sure. Well, the first one is called Did You Say Something? And basically it's written in second person, so you are the main character in the story. And one day you just start hearing this girl's voice in your head, and you can't explain where it's coming from. And she's asking for help. So you kind of drop everything because she tells you she's stuck in this rocky kind of cave, and she's chained to the floor, and she's not getting fed properly. And because of the weird kind of connection you have, you can also see her surroundings and that she's not being kept very well. And I don't want to spoil the ending, but right. You kind of get all the way out there and then figure out it's not exactly what you were expecting. So it's a big twist. That one has a little bit of sci-fi mixed in with it as well.
Oh.
So, yeah. Couple other stories. There's one about, it's loosely based on my fear of Chucky as a child. A doll comes back to, or she's haunting this little girl in her room, and on the particular night the story takes place, the girl has a backup plan, and she's hidden a can of spray paint in her teddy bear. And this version of Chucky is a psychotherapist who used to hypnotize her victims and kill them while they were hypnotized, rather than a serial killer into a doll. Yeah. So the way that the doll hypnotizes you is that she has to look at you, but if she can't see, then you have the advantage. So the little girl gets a can of spray paint, sprays it all over her face, and I might ruin this one because it's not exactly the best story in the book. She sprays it all over her face and runs her out to the backyard to set her on fire in the fire pit. And just as she does that, the doll sits up and levitates the girl up into the sky, and right as her mom is coming out to see what's going on, the doll drops her, and that's the end of the story.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really good stories in there. They're not exactly edited. They are edited to a point, but I've learned a lot in the last 4 or 5 months that I've been doing this. And my main critique I get on Amazon is that the grammar is really bad. So if people can forgive me for that, the stories are really good.
Yeah. So how many stories are in this collection?
There are 8 in that collection right now.
8. Okay. And where can this could be found?
It's found on Amazon. I'm selling it through there. You can get it for $4.99 as a paperback or 99 cents as a Kindle version.
Aw.
Mhm.
That's so neat. How long did it take for you to do this?
I think about 5 or 6 months total.
Oh.
Because the illustrator for the cover is one of my real good friends, so I kind of didn't have to outsource for that or work out any contracts or anything. So I was all kind of inclusive with that, and then I just kind of wrote the stories. Like, I write a new short story on my blog every week, so it's not like they take me forever. And because I self-published, it was a lot easier to do it because I did it through CreateSpace, which is an Amazon company, and I was just able to upload the PDF. They approved my files, and it was out.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah.
I also found your blog.
Yeah.
Which I'm loving this. Investigating the paranormal, dabbling in horror, in a torrid affair with sci-fi, and head over heels for dystopian fiction. That's awesome, and that's a WordPress.
Yeah, it's a WordPress site. I'm hoping to upgrade it to an actual website someday, but for right now I'm using WordPress. I love WordPress.
Oh, yeah. It's so easy to use.
I know, and I love that you have like on the app you get like the stats, and you can see what countries people are coming from to see your stuff and where people are clicking, and it makes it really easy to market yourself.
So was it hard to do self-publishing?
Well, if you'd asked me at the time, I probably would have said no. But now that I'm actually out there, I did it the wrong way, honestly. I self-published my book, and then I promoted myself. So I didn't learn until after the fact that that's not how you're supposed to do it. So I only had about 20 followers on Twitter when I actually published my book. And now I've kind of grown through my blog and my movie reviews, and now I have a podcast, so that's helping. But yeah, I did it all backwards. So it's more difficult now that I know what the right way to do it is.
Well, I mean,
you gotta hire editors and illustrators and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, everybody I think does it differently. There's just a guideline, and it seems like you can pick and choose what you want to do.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So you have a podcast too. What is it?
Yeah, I do. It's called The Short Stories of Augie Peterson, the podcast, and you can find it on Podbean, iTunes, and Google Play for right now, but I hope to expand pretty soon. I realized a lot of my listeners either didn't have the patience to sit down to read, or they just didn't have like the time to devote to sit in front of a screen for so long. And some people have disabilities that prevent them from sitting down and reading. So I wanted to engage more listeners and readers with my stories, so I decided to turn it into a podcast.
So you're just reading your stories for a podcast?
Yeah, I read my stories on Tuesdays, and then on Thursdays I post the kind of summary of the movie review I did the week before, because I have two blogs, the short story blog and then a movie review blog I do of bad horror movies. So I kind of take my blog and I put it into 2 episodes of a podcast.
Oh, how fun!
Yeah.
Are you? So is this a paying gig, or do you still have a day job?
I actually am very fortunate to be a housewife supported by my husband right now. But in the near future, I will be releasing a Patreon because, I can only do this for free for so long.
Right. Oh, wow.
It's gaining some traction too, so hopefully that'll be successful.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, your turn.
No, it's my turn. Hi. So dystopian fiction seems to be right up my alley anyways. What was your favorite kind of growing up with dystopian?
By far my favorite is The Giver. I absolutely love that book. I know that's like super cheesy because everyone read it in high school, but that is my absolute favorite dystopian fiction book. I love it so much.
Don't worry, I sit back and I enjoy the true classics, the full classics like 451 Fahrenheit and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I love dystopian fiction. Just being just seeing the world as it would be in a different way. It's just so fascinating. It's just crazy.
Absolutely.
My work in progress right now. I'm working on a novel. It's actually dystopian fiction. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So now I've lost my train of thought. You like the bad horror movies as well, huh?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
See,
big fan of the horrible movies.
2 straight weeks of B movies discussed on this show. Finally.
Yep.
So I gotta know. It's late on a Saturday night. You can't sleep. What do you pop in?
Oh no. Oh. I just kind of go through Netflix, and I look at the thumbnails and I see which one looks the worst. And that's very rarely how I work my blog too. But man, there's so many. How do we choose? Any of the classics, really, like the real campy classics. Cabin Fever has been one of my favorites recently.
Which they remade. They remade.
Oh my gosh. So I was going to review the remake this week because today I'm actually writing my movie review. But I went to watch it, and I'm pretty sure they used the exact same script because the whole interaction out front of the store in the first few scenes is like word for word from the original movie.
Yes.
Like, this is crap. Come on.
Yeah, they redid it almost scene for scene because Eli Roth wrote the screenplay for this remake and he was executive producer.
So disappointed.
But for some reason, I like this version better than his version. It's not as bad, and they use all the same character names. It's just different people. And they changed the deputy. It's now a woman.
Okay. You gotta be inclusive,
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. Cabin Fever, the original, was bad.
Yeah, real bad. Yeah.
Bad. Yeah. But for some reason, I like this new remake. I don't know why.
Well, I'll have to give it a second chance then, because I didn't review it, but I am gonna watch it. So I didn't get past the first scene, but now I'll have to give it a second chance now that I got a recommendation.
Oh yeah, I'd say definitely give it a watch, and if you really can't stand it, because Eli Roth still is in charge of it. But
right.
he didn't direct it though. So
yeah.
So in my opinion, it wasn't that bad.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed. We'll cross our fingers on that one.
Do you have a favorite horror movie?
Oh man.
Like your go-to?
I think the first Saw movie is my favorite.
Yes.
Definitively. I think that is my favorite one because I did not see the ending coming at all. And like my whole childhood, I was under the impression that all the Saw movies was just blood and guts and arms chopping off and whatever. And then I finally caved and I watched the first one, and it was not what I was expecting. It was like deep psychological torment, and I loved it. That was the best.
Yeah.
So I think that's my favorite one.
Yeah, I love those movies that totally screw with your head. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because that's where the worst horror is. It's inside your head.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I got new questions. These are fun.
Okay.
What's the ringtone on your phone?
Oh God.
I knew you were gonna start those questions.
Yes, those questions.
Right now, I have yet to change it because I change it like for the seasons and stuff. But I've been so busy, I haven't changed it since Christmas. So right now, it's still "We Need a Little Christmas" by Percy Faith.
It's actually a great song.
Yeah, it is. Oh, that's a good question. Keeping me on my toes.
What's another one, Matt?
I don't know. 'Cause we were banging a few of them out the other week, weren't we? After we got done with Xander.
Yeah.
I've forgotten half of them because I was too busy choking. So I was laughing so hard.
Oh, so where do you get your inspiration for your stories?
Oh, that's a good one. I watch a lot of weird stuff on YouTube. Like, I watch a lot of unsolved mysteries, and I watch a lot of medical documentaries, psychological documentaries, and actually some of my stories are based on real life. There's one story, The Woman on the Yellow Bicycle, who is actually based on a woman who rides around my neighborhood on a yellow bicycle. So I kind of get inspiration from everywhere, but primarily it's like media and then my interpretation of what I think it could be. On the episode of my podcast that I actually posted today, I read a story that is the internal dialogue of a dog debating whether or not to eat the owner that has just died after a few days of them being hungry. And that was based off of a video from Ask a Mortician, which is a YouTube channel of a mortician who answers questions about death. And she's amazing. And she's such an amazing resource for writers because she talks about decomposition, falsehoods behind like famous corpses and stuff like that. So I get a lot of inspiration from just the weird stuff I watch on YouTube.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've been watching what is it? The weird facts and creepy stories and weird things found on video, on photos.
Oh, I'm too chicken to look at those.
Things like that. They're kind of scary. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't look at them.
Yeah.
I might write horror, but I'm a huge chicken. I can't I still haven't watched that mysterious video of the girl in the elevator that goes missing. Like I can't look at those trail cam videos that the people say they found the goat man on. Like I can't.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
Have one, Matt?
Okay, I now I have to ask, what is hands down, if you had to pick one YouTube channel to watch the rest of your life?
Oh no, don't do that to me. Oh no. Oh god. Oh. One YouTube channel for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
We're so mean.
You really are. I would probably say the Vlogbrothers channel. Are you guys familiar with the Vlogbrothers?
No.
Hank and John Green?
No.
I think I am.
Oh, man. They are these two brothers that started a project back in 2007 or something, where they wanted to communicate just via video back and forth and not like textual communications whatsoever. And they just got like this huge like following of these people who were watching their videos back and forth, and they are just huge nerds.
Sweet.
John Green is actually a New York Times bestseller. He wrote The Fault in Our Stars. He just came out with Turtles All the Way Down, Looking for Alaska. So he writes young adult novels. And Hank Green is an environmental scientist who has like 5 other YouTube channels. But the two of them have this huge following of fans, and they're called Nerd Fighters. And it's just like this real big inclusive community of kids and teenagers and young adults like me who are just nerdy and geeky and like love that kind of stuff and just want to have a community to be a part of. And they still do weekly videos, and they have been since they started their project. So I watch them all the time, and I think that would be the channel I would pick.
Nice. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it is fun. You guys should check them out.
Okay.
Yeah. Totally unrelated to anything I write.
Sorry.
I watch a lot of YouTube.
So do I. Don't worry. I think I watch more YouTube than I actually do real TV.
Same. I like to binge a lot of stuff, so YouTube videos over and over are really great.
Oh yeah. Do you game at all?
I actually just started getting into it, and I watch a lot of Let's Plays. I watch PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye on YouTube, and I watch how they play their games and stuff. But I rarely have time to actually play games. I just finished playing BioShock, the original.
Oh,
so that's where I'm at.
Welcome to the most wonderful world of all time.
Oh, I love that game so much. It's so great. But I'm not like an avid gamer where I spend like 24 hours a day gaming, even though I wish I could, because I really do. Like, I play Need for Speed a lot, too, because I just like pushing buttons and making things control. So.
That's basically how I am in Fallout these days.
Yeah.
And I'm with Skyrim. I'm a Skyrim girl.
Nice.
I mean, what's more fun than, getting to kill people with a sword or magic spells or, whatever.
That's the one I'm really into is Borderlands. So that first-person shooter.
Yes!
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Oh, man. Those are my favorite games. Robas is Robbaz. He's hilarious. He might be.
Yeah.
He's a little on the weird side, but I think you'd like him. He's Swedish. He's like PewDiePie.
Oh, cool! I'll have to look into him.
He is insane. But it's one of the best channels out there. That's
Nice.
a free plug for a guy who doesn't even listen to our podcast.
There we go. There we go.
Except the guy you're listening right now to the podcast I'm on.
Oh yeah,
Markiplier.
Oh yeah, he's something else. He's something else. I don't watch him very much, but he's up there.
We're watching when he did SCP. And his reactions to playing, like going through the dark hallways and hearing all these weird sounds. It's priceless.
He's so loud.
Yeah, he is. He likes to scream a lot. Like, I'm gonna email him and go, dude, you scream like a girl.
And I'm sure you'll be the first person to tell him that.
Right.
Oh, go ahead, Bane.
Oh no, I'm looking.
You're drinking. You're drinking. No, I'm kidding.
I'm drinking. Yeah,
You're drinking again.
Oh, you guys are drinking on the job?
Yes.
Super cool.
This is
yes.
See, this is why we've all got to get our podcasts off the ground monetarily, so we can just all start drinking on the job.
Yeah, I mean, it's stereotypical for a writer to be drunk while they're writing all the time, right?
Exactly.
What's up with that?
Yeah,
what is that?
Necessity. I don't know. I can't write when I'm drunk.
Yeah, I can't even have a coherent thought when I'm drunk.
No. I mean, like, maybe in that little weird gray area, like right before you're tipsy, you're like hyper focused, but you can't get drunk. You can't just have like a glass of whiskey next to you and nah. No, you gotta you gotta thrive off of the constant battering that your mind is doing.
Yeah, see, I find that stereotypical in all the movies. Writers always have the hard alcohol with them. I'm like, no, it doesn't work.
Right.
No, I think you have to do it the Hunter S. Thompson way. Just go find every drug available in your area and just down it one shot, and then chase it with the whiskey. That's how you do it, apparently.
And then just like write it while you're dying.
Exactly. But you know, the funny thing is, one of my best friends and I, we've actually said we're going to reenact leaving Las Vegas when we turn 70. Just for fun. We're just going to do it and see what happens.
Oh, gosh.
So, what is your process when you sit down to write a story?
Oh, man. Well, I don't know. I've always had a weird process when I write, because I get an idea and then I write it and then I edit it and then I post it. Like, that's just kind of how it works. I don't sometimes I'll sit and talk to myself. Like, I've started doing this thing where I'll pre-plan the stories that I'm going to write the next week. And sometimes my initial idea won't work out, so I'll have to swap it. Like, the most recent story that I put on my blog is called The Envelope. And originally, it was going to be about a couple who had just moved into an apartment, and they went to go check if their mailbox key worked, and found a mysterious letter with, like, symbols written all over it and whatever. And I wrote the first scene of that story, and I initially hated the characters that came out, and I hated where it was going. It was so tropey and stereotypical. So I'm like, okay, I put on my blog last week that the next week's story would be called The Envelope. So what could I do instead? So I flipped it around completely, and it turned into this story about a homeless man who is mysteriously given an envelope full of cash. And then he goes to find out more about it because there's like a note inside that says, if you want more where this came from, then come to this address. And he goes there, and it's just a computer on a desk in an empty office space. And on the screen, the words pop up as it's talking in like a computery kind of voice. And it's like, all you got to do is deliver this package, and we'll give you $10,000. So he delivers a package, and it turns out to be like a biohazard, bioterrorism attack on the business that he has been stationed out front of begging for money for his entire life. And like he has to go and destroy this whole business of people that he loves. And it's like this big thing. And I just totally turned it around because I ended up talking to myself for an hour and a half about how I could fix the story. So it really depends on what I set myself up for the week ahead of time.
Wow.
I have a memo in my phone that has story ideas on it, but they're all like half ideas. So I'll sit down, I'll look through them, and I'm like, well, that one looks okay, but where can I go with it? So I'll kind of just think about it and talk to myself, and then I'll write it, and then send it through a bunch of grammar apps, and then I post it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It sounds like it's a really quick, because you're not writing a book, you're just doing one story.
Right, it is. Actually, my current work in progress has been going on for the last 6 years. So, yeah.
Wow.
I try to get my short stories out there. I write them typically the day before. I used to do them the day of, but that was too stressful. So, now I do them the day before. But
have you submitted your stories to any other publishing?
Not publishing specifically. I don't know, I kind of feel like it's a waste of time to send a short story to a publisher, because then it's like, what are they going to do? Just put it, on a piece of paper and mail it to everyone they know? Oh,
no, I meant, there's online publishers,
Yeah, I've sent a couple of stories out. The story that's on my blog, Maid Service, I sent to, a pretty big contest, and I didn't win. But I did send an original story to, what is it called? Paintings with words with paint, something like that. It's a smaller website that has a contest every month.
Oh.
And they have a painting or a photo that you have to base your story off of. Okay. And I won that one, and I was published in their online magazine in October. So that was pretty exciting. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty nice.
I haven't submitted too many other places yet, but yeah, I hope to in the future. There's a couple of contests I have my eye on. It's I don't feel like I'm ready almost, because I get a lot of comments on my grammar and my prose and my pacing and things like that on Reddit. So it's pretty discouraging.
Aw, but that's, that's the fun part of always just writing more.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And I don't usually let that stuff get to me. It just kind of keeps me from sending it to other people. If I'm the one posting it and then I blast it on Twitter, no one really has a choice.
Right. And that's a way to keep your stories.
Exactly.
You do it yourself, and just, yeah.
I just berate people with it, and I put it on a podcast, so they have to listen to it now, and then they're like, hey, this isn't so bad.
Right.
So, that's my marketing strategy.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get your Podbean.
Yeah, you should. It's I just put the second episode out today. I don't even have I put the first one out last Tuesday, but I didn't have a Thursday episode for last week. But this week I have a Thursday episode, so you're going to hear me rant on and on about a terrible Amazon Prime movie I watched.
Oh, that narrows it down.
It's so bad. It's called The Offering, and it's also called The Faith of Anna Waters, because when I Googled it, both of those movies came up. It was so bad.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's so bad.
Amazon. Let me say this though: the a lot of the independent stuff on Amazon Prime, it's just
terrible.
awful.
So bad. I didn't have Netflix for the last 3 weeks. So I had to keep making movies reviews for the blog. So I'm like, what do I do? So I went on Amazon Prime, and that was what I had. I did The Offering, and then I did The Void, which is an anthology of the worst horror movies I've ever seen. Oh, God.
Oh, my God. I have seen horror movies on Amazon Prime that were below the quality of what I call 3 a.m. Showtime movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I would purposefully look for ones that were, I don't know, 4 stars and below, and then I'd watch the trailer. I'm like, this is just too bad. Like, I can't even review this. It's too bad. I can't sit through this.
When you're turning it off 5 minutes in, there's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do a post like this. Here's the movie. It sucked.
Yeah.
Period. I'm done.
That's it. I'm sorry. You'll understand if you watch it.
see, that's why I couldn't ever do the Amazon Prime movies, because 90% of the reviews would be, well, I think it's just the director's excuse to see his girlfriend without her shirt on. That's about it.
Yeah. And in the anthology one that I watched, you could tell every single anthology was like done, acted, directed, written, everything by people that whoever it was that put the anthology together knew. Like, they were all friends. Yeah. You could tell the acting was so bad. Oh, God.
Have you done a school play before, son?
You have a resume? Well, no, but this one time, I sang in my church's choir. Oh, perfect. You're good. Good to go.
You play the lead.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, that's low budget for you.
Yeah. It's fun, though, but because on my movie review blog, I don't just, like, review the movie. I'm really sarcastic about it. So, like, I have a rating system that goes from hell no to actually passable. And then, like, under every one, it says, like, this one made me want to scratch my eyes out, or this one made me want to keep my ears and not pull my hair out and stuff like that. So I get really sarcastic and snarky about it. So it's fun because I get to kind of just go off on these movies.
These are folks, these are film reviews we need to see then.
Yes.
Well, hey, they're going to be up on the podcast in a little bit, so if you just don't want to sit around and read them, I'm going to have The Offering up. The Offering was probably one of the worst movies I ever saw. It was about a... Yes. I don't know what it was about, but I know that in the ending, this little girl who has a stomach tube gets possessed by a demon. And the pastor that is trying to exorcise the demon ends up getting killed because he has weak faith. So the demon turns him upside down, puts barbed wire around his head, and pins him up to a wall, and then suddenly he's dead. And not only is this demon levitating in a chair, not only can it turn its head 360 degrees around, but as soon as the pastor dies, the other 2 protagonists in the movie are completely clueless as to what to do because this girl is still possessed. So what the main character does is she pulls on the girl's stomach tube until it bleeds and says, "Remember, Katie, life or pain is just a reminder of how precious life is." And that's what gets the demon to leave. Like,
oh, jeez.
That's
oh, my God.
Unbelievable. And then after that, everything is fine. Like, her stomach isn't ruptured. She doesn't have to go into emergency surgery to get her stomach tube fixed. She's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, no.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
No.
Yeah. There's plenty of them. One of them I saw was a guy was laying on to be sacrificed by this coven, I guess, of all women.
Mm-hmm.
And
of course,
they put him in they cut him in non-fatal places, and they just dance for 15 minutes. Half of them are closed, the other half are topless, and you're just standing there going, "What the fuck is going on here?"
So it's porn. It's not
basically
a movie, it's porn.
that's See, that's what I mean, though. I honestly think those were the ones was like, okay, the director was like, not only do I want to see my girlfriend topless, let me see her friends topless, too, while I'm out. So, just dance. And then then it was like the two of the heroes were going outside, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but they were outside of the place where all this was going on. Memo to low-budget directors, if you're going to shoot outside of a strip club, keep the strip club sign out of the thing.
Oh, God. Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
I love
the club
it.
is super famous. Wasn't this the place they shot those guys hanging out after that weird sacrifice porn?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God! I love that. I love how bad some people get with these.
Oh,
things.
I know. It's like you wonder if it's purposeful too. Like, I kind of feel bad reviewing them, calling them bad movies. Like, are these people really working that hard on this movie? But then you see some, and it's like, there's no way that you thought this movie was gonna be amazing. There's no way. Ugh.
And they all shrug their shoulders and go, "Well, we're just low budget." I was like, dude, we've interviewed low budget people before, and they still find absolutely awesome places to shoot and still make some great movies.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, God, you just gotta pick the right time of day, you know?
Exactly.
Don't pick that weird moment of the day where the sun is shining in all your actors' faces and they have to squint while they're delivering dramatic lines, you know?
Exactly.
Oh boy.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Vane, you got anything else?
No, I'm all mush now.
You're all mush now. Well, I guess that just leaves one last thing left to do, and that's just remind everybody where they can, read your stuff. We'll put a link up to your podcast. We'll definitely follow you because we're fellow Podbeaners.
Oh, good. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
I think I followed you guys as soon as you said that you'd have me on here, so.
Oh,
just
nice.
Follow for a follow. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I just found you too on Podbean. Oh.
Yeah.
And we're following now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There we go. Right on time.
Yeah.
I guess just tell everybody where they can buy your stuff and listen to your podcasts and read your blog.
So you can read my short stories on the short stories of augiepeterson.wordpress.com, and you can find my movies reviews at the Netflix Nook, not the Netflix Nook, it's netflixnook.wordpress.com. I am the short stories of Augie Peterson on Podbean, or my username is Augie P, so that could probably be easier to find. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, and you can find my actual book on Amazon. Like I said, the paperback is $4.99 and the Kindle version is 99 cents.
Sweet.
Which I just downloaded for my Kindle, 99 cents.
Aw, I hope you can look past my terrible grammar.
Because on some of the stories,
none of the stories that are in my book have been posted anywhere else, except for one of them, Suddenly the Telephone Rang. That's up on my blog. But all the ones in my book are original stories that haven't been posted anywhere else.
Oh, because I love anthologies. Yeah, because I've had some stories on my Kindle to where a word is crossed out. There was a story that did several times where they cross out a whole line, and then the next line is more of the book. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, it's not that bad. It just might miss a few commas and stuff.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. For self-publishing. Oh yeah. No, I'm forgiving. Don't worry. If the story grabs me, yeah, I'm good.
Oh, I forgot to mention, you can also find my podcast on iTunes and Google Play, as well as Podbean. So,
oh, yeah.
Awesome.
That's everything.
Yes.
Here we go.
So,
yeah. All right.
And we've been talking to Augie Peterson, horror author. Her latest work is Night Vision, a collection of short horror stories that she self-published. Go find it. We'll put up all the links, and thank you very much for celebrating Women in Horror Month. Yes, you're part of that now.
Yeah. Super weird.
And as part of our continuing celebration of women and civil rights month, we
So, what inspired this idea for the film?
I mean, I used to live in South Carolina for a while, and they had this really, really amazing haunted house during Halloween. And when I used to go there, it was like, it doesn't feel like a Disney haunted house. It was like really, really felt like there might be a psychopath in there who's trying to kill you. When a guy with a chainsaw was coming on to me, I was like, oh my God, this can be a real psychopath right now. Like, this can be a real chainsaw. I was really scared. And I had that idea of few people going to a haunted house and getting trapped in there. Mm-hmm. And they have like real crazy people trapped them in there trying to harm them. Okay. I had that idea, but before I get to pitch it and write that, my friend Shania, she pitched that escape room idea, which was based on a similar concept where a few people go to an escape room, they're playing puzzles, whatever, and they realize that somebody psychopath trapped them in there. But in the very original screenplay, there wasn't much motivation, that we didn't know. Like, in some horror movies, people like randomly kill people, like Texas Massacre Chainsaw. Like the guy just kills people, but we never know why. Right, but I prefer like Psycho. Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock Psycho. Okay, Psycho kills that woman. There's that famous shower scene, whatever. But in the end, when they explain to us the psychology, how his mom, about his sick relationship with his mom and how everything happened. Ooh. I love that. I love that in the end we understand the motivation of the crazy person or psychopath, whatever you call it. That was interesting to me. So I wanted to have this character to have a reason to do all this. And then she came up with, it became like a revenge plot. The person who's trying to kill them actually has a personal vendetta with all of them except for our main protagonist, because she kind of gets dragged in there in the last minute. And she's trying to save herself and her sister. Yeah.
I really love those films where, the good person just, has this voice going, no, we shouldn't go. No, we shouldn't go. Oh, okay. We'll go. I just watched that the other day on a movie on Netflix. They're like, no, I don't want to go. No, I don't want to go. But come on, it'll be fun. All right.
And what did I do?
Yeah. So, okay. So where are you? Are you filming in LA?
Yeah, we're planning to film in LA, at least the short film, but for the feature film, I'm open to possibilities. I mean, wherever we get the funds and resources, I might go to Canada, I might go to wherever, really. I just want to make this film happen.
So, escape room, is it just one room? Like, are you going to do like Saw? It's just one room where all these people are trying to figure out puzzles, or is these multitude of rooms they're going to go through?
In the future script, there's a multitude of rooms. I mean, most of the stuff, they get in, they go through a corridor, the hostess introduces them, and they get into the first room. But once they solve the puzzles, a secret compartment opens, and they get into another room. And every room, they start to find puzzle pieces that has to do with their past. Like they did something wrong to somebody. And by getting the puzzle pieces together, they start to realize. I mean, in a little way, if you've seen the show on Netflix, 13 Reasons Why,
yes,
there's a little bit similarity with that. In every recording, how she tells like what somebody was responsible for what they did to her. Mm-hmm. But that girl kills herself. Our antagonist is not like that. She wants to get back at them instead of killing herself.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if they screw up, they're going to get killed because it's kind of set up like Saw. It sounds like it's a little bit Saw, where you have to figure out a puzzle. Otherwise, the trap's going to set off and kill you.
Yes, but I mean, it's more like she's going to kill them anyway. They have better chances. But here, they really need to find a way out before she gets to them. She's not so much like giving them a real chance to get out of there unless they use their minds to find a way to get out of there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about your cast?
Sure. My lead protagonist right now is Anna. I cast Jolie Vanier. She's been in a lot of Robert Rodriguez movies before.
Oh.
And yeah, she used to be in my graduation thesis film. I had a film called Strange Little Girl.
Okay.
Sort of autobiographical, and I cast her maybe 10 years ago. She was like 9 years old back then, and now she's 19. Like,
Wow.
she was perfect for the time, and now she's perfect for this. Well, I cast someone else first, but she was late to the table reading, and then she never showed up to the photography session, and I had to let her go. I mean, she apologized later, and it's been a learning lesson for her, and I might work with her in another project. But when that fell through, I decided I should work with Jolie. And her mom contacted me by coincidence, and I'm like, hey, I'm working on this project. Let's give it a shot. So she's the lead. And the rest of the cast is really, we just went with LA Casting, and there's a casting studio called Cast in LA.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we just did auditions, and we picked the ones that seems to fit best with our cast. They're all like really young and new actors. I don't have like any celebrities, and we don't know if the future film's gonna involve all the same cast or they might change. So we don't know if the same cast's gonna be the whole way, but at least for the short, this is our cast, and people can see our cast on our Indiegogo page. In detail too.
Yes, I was scrolling down and I'm checking that out. Wow. Okay, Matt, you have questions?
Sure, why not? Because, all right, since you're a fellow former South Carolinian, I gotta know: are you talking about the one that used to be in Myrtle Beach? By any stretch? Okay.
Somewhere around Greenville. I mean, I went to one near Myrtle Beach too. Oh my God, that was scary too. I went to Myrtle Beach one time. I remember a little haunted house, and my friend didn't want to get in with me because she was scared. I went in by myself.
Oh God, that house is
fun. That was really scary. I was like holding a stranger's hand because I was so scared.
I should point out to people who don't know, there used to be, I think they closed down a couple years ago. There's a bridge that was permanently damaged by Hugo that just goes straight up. For people who don't know this, there used to be a haunted house that was near the river that was underneath it, right there at the Intercoastal Waterway. I think that's the one you're talking about, right?
Might be. I mean, there was like close to the Ferris wheels.
Yeah.
It was close to the beach. And the other one I'm telling in Greenville, it was called like a Mad House or Mad Attraction, something like that. It was really, really scary, both of them.
I've driven by there a couple of times. I don't think I've ever gone in, so I need to check that one out.
Yeah, I mean, the ones I went to in LA are very children-friendly. It's like la la la, little skeletons singing and stuff, but it wasn't like that.
That's what I'm glad about this state. None of them really are. There's not a lot of family-friendly stuff when it comes to the state.
I mean, literally, when somebody runs towards you with a chainsaw, you're like, holy shit, this might be a real chainsaw.
Yes. I do love that about, I will say that, I do love that about Greenville, too. They are, it's a whole nother planet compared to the rest of the state. I mean, because nobody's from, it's funny because nobody's from Greenville, nobody's from Myrtle Beach, and nobody's from Charleston. Until you get to the outer areas. And when you get to the burbs, you're fine, but nobody's from those cities, and they are literally like different planets compared to the rest of the state. It's great.
I believe it.
Oh man, I'm in Florence, by the way. That's that weird little tourist trap before you get to Myrtle Beach. So, but yeah, I like that idea of escape rooms because you're right. It's close to what a haunted house is, obviously with 13,000 other things, and it's a good timing on this film because I've never seen places like escape rooms be so popular. I don't even think haunted houses were this popular at any time.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of new ones opening. And I've seen there has been some escape room movies. So we might change our title. It might be called something else once I get to the feature film, but it's going to be the same concept. And what makes our film different is it's going to be a very psychological thriller. There's going to be a psychology like bullying issues and some sexual assault issues. Like there's going to be deeper issues in the film that I don't want to give away too much because then I'm going to start giving spoilers. But it's not just like a superficial movie where teenagers just get killed. There's more to it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Vane, you got anything else?
So now I'm brain farting. I'm sorry.
Usually that's my job.
Yeah. You rubbed off on me.
Oh, no. I'm a bad influence.
No.
Oh God, because I don't have that much. I guess talk about your previous short film experience here.
Sure. Well, I first studied film and television, and I have an accent. Obviously, I'm from Istanbul, Turkey originally, and that's where the accent comes from.
Okay.
And my dad he had like a small production company. I started playing with cameras and filming when I was a little kid. So, and I studied film and television in Turkey, where I started to make my very first short films. And before I knew too much, it was just fun. It was just like fun and games. Get a few friends together, let's film something. Woo! It was just enjoyable. The more I learned, the more I started to take it seriously and see it more professional. It's created more pressure. And when I was graduating from that university, I made my very first horror movie. It was called Forbidden Door. And it was like an adaptation of Bluebeard. A couple gets married and the guy takes the woman to his house in an island and tells her there's one door she can't ever open. That door is forbidden. And the woman is a writer, so her imagination keeps triggering her. She keeps fantasizing what's behind the door, and it drives her crazy. And in the end, she opens the door, but I don't know. And I had like 2 professional, like celebrity level actors, and we used to have a house in the island, so I got the chance to film it there. It was great. I mean, it didn't turn out as I dream it to be, but a lot of people really liked it. And my teacher who saw it at the time said, oh, you could make something like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, I can see that potential in you. And I was like, I was a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so that was a huge compliment.
Oh, yeah.
And then after I finished school, I earned a Fulbright scholarship and I went to CalArts to study film directing.
Oh.
And yeah, I got my MFA on film directing and I did a few short films, and my last short film was Strange as a Girl that I was telling you about. I actually wanted to do other thriller, horror kind of stuff, but I was kind of like, because CalArts is a little more like indie. They aim a little more towards like push us towards like film festivals like Sundance and stuff. So I got more support doing like a drama kind of film. So that's what I did. But I had this crazy movie idea back then that I wanted to do as my thesis, where an angel and devil like get together and they have a baby and everything. But I never got to do that.
Nice.
Yeah, that's one of my like films. I wish I did that. But they're like, well, you don't have much budget. It's gonna look like cheesy, whatever. I'm like, fine.
No.
Yeah, maybe in the future. And then I went back to Turkey a few years. I made a few films over there. I actually got into a big competition for filmmakers. It's like Project Greenlight over here. So, and I was a finalist. I was the only woman director finalist. I like 3-4 short films. They give you a concept. You got to do it in a very short time with a very limited budget, and it was a success.
Right.
We got really good scores from the jury, and we lost like 1 or 2 points to be the winner of the whole competition. And then I came back to LA. And when I came back to LA, I did one other short film in South Carolina. It was called Death Cake, which is a very, very similar idea to Happy Death Day. And I did it way before Happy Death Day, where you can see the same cake, the same black cake saying Happy Death Day in my film. I don't want to say they stole it from me, but it's a very interesting coincidence that I had the same cake. And in that film, like a girl, she wakes up in a alternative reality and there's a huge party. She doesn't understand what's going on until the cake comes to the table and she realizes they're actually celebrating her death day. Like it's like a surprise death day party. So I think that was an original idea. And I mean, I shot in a day almost with no budget. So, I mean, I have the same problem with a lot of my films. Like I have interesting ideas and some original things, but I always had very, very limited budgets, super limited. Like my thesis film, I shot for $1,000. I'm talking about that limited.
Wow.
So this time I wanted to raise a little more funds, and I wanna be able to show a little more like what I can do as a director. I want to have a little more time with my actors, a little, focus on their performance a little more. So, I mean, I can't say I'm not competing with other filmmakers out there. I'm in the competition, but my biggest competition is myself. I really, really want to do better than what I did before. And I mean, I grew up watching a lot of horror movies. It's been my favorite genre. And I want to have a good horror film that I can be proud of. And, future generations can still watch and laugh or scream, whatever, but they enjoy watching my film. That's important to me.
I've noticed that revenge films are really taking an upturn for horror. Like that seems to be an issue that they're really pushing from like past bullying incidents or rejections. I've noticed there's more of them.
I think that's great because, I mean, when you look into it, when you look at the past of these like mass shooters or, teenage crime, it has a lot of to do with the psychological reasons behind it. Maybe they've been bullied, maybe they've been abused, like something happened to these kids. They don't nobody comes out of nowhere evil, I don't think. Something happens to people. So it's important to understand the sociological aspects, like how we're turning people into monsters.
Yeah. And these revenge type films, they really make you think about your past. Like, how did you affect people when you were younger?
Right.
I really love movies like that. I'm like, okay, was I ever a bully? Did I pick on somebody? Oh my God, who's coming after me next? that always makes me wonder about that.
Well, maybe it's good people, new generation watches these films and they're a little more scared. Oh, I better not bully this person. What if they turn crazy on me and come after me? Maybe that's a good fear to have.
Right? Or they're going to do the other thing where, the school shootings, that's,
right.
Don't pick on somebody or they're going to shoot your ass at school. Okay. Great.
That sounds like a, healthy fear people should have.
Yes, I think they should. Anything else, Matt?
Yeah. Well, then I have to ask since all this. What was do you have, your one go-to film? You're having a really awful day or something, and you just got that one film where it's just like, now I know life is better.
I mean, for some reason, whenever we talk about horror movies, the very first movie comes to my mind is always Shining. I love Shining.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good film. It's so psychologically slow by slow, like that's the foreplay before it starts to really scare you. I love some Japanese horror movies too, like Ringu and Grudge, the originals. But like if I just want to watch something nostalgic, if I'm in a mode for nostalgia, I would watch Labyrinth or Splash, because those were my favorite films when I was growing up, even though they're not like horror. I always like fantasy and movies that take me to another world. I guess I'm an escapist. I just like horror, sci-fi, fantasy, all those genres.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Labyrinth is always a welcome answer around here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're
It's
fans
such
of
a
Labyrinth.
Oh, yay! We're all fans. It's such a good movie, and I always want to go one of those. They do these masquerade balls and stuff. I always wanted to go to one of these. Never got a chance yet. I probably watched that movie like at least 10 times, at least.
Yeah. Her dress, I always wanted to get her dress, and the way her hair was done, that was my favorite for the ball.
Yeah, she's really, really amazingly gorgeous.
Yeah, she is. Still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've been talking to Bessy Adut for Escape Room short film on Indiegogo.com. Be sure to check it out and give to help her make this film. Bessy, why don't you remind people where we can find Escape Room, or if there's any other places to contact you?
Just 1 second. Let me check exactly what it says in this link. It says indiegogo.com/projects/escape room proof of concept short film horror. Might be better if you just put this link under the radio thing. It's going to be hard for people to find it unless they have a link to click, I think. But that's the whole link. Oh, but we also have a website. Easier to find it from our website. Yeah, just a second, because our website has a button that says, just a second, escape room. escaperoomshortfilm.com. If they go to escaperoomshortfilm.com, they can, look at the story, cast, crew, our press, which is you. Our first press is you. And then they can go to donate button and go from there. And right this second, we are still at 91%.
Nice.
So we'd love any support.
Oh, you got it. We'll put up all the links and blast it everywhere.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe we talk again down the road once the film is finished, then we can talk after Matt.
Absolutely. Please contact us again when this is all ready to go.
Okay, will do. Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful Sunday.
All right. Thank you.
You too.
Hey everyone, this is Bowmine Bob from Bowling with Bobcat. You can listen to me live every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern at sfdradio.com, where I'm bringing you the best of the worst in cheap booze, talking bum wine, beers, 40s, malt liquor, and more. Always featuring the latest and greatest in the world of drinking and entertainment, along with some special guests. So come on down and take a ride with Bumwine Bob. If you can't be there live, you can always listen in the archives at bumwinebob.com. So sit back, relax, grab a drink, and enjoy. Cheers.
From an article from 1428elm.com, tour Camp Crystal Lake with Adrian King. Friday the 13th star Adrian King is inviting campers to tour the campground used for Camp Crystal Lake in the original film on Friday the 13th weekend. If you've been waiting for the perfect opportunity to visit Camp Nobi Bosco, the actual campground where Friday the 13th was filmed, the time is now. Over at the Crystal Lake Tours official website, franchise star Adrian King was announced as a special guest for multiple upcoming tours. Known to fans of the series as the final girl, Alice Hardy, King will be present for all the tours during the Friday the 13th weekend in April of this year, April 13th to the 15th. It goes without saying that the tour doesn't get much more authentic than having the star of the film tagging along as part of the experience. In addition to the regular tours offered, there will also be a special VIP experience available to be purchased. This includes an overnight stay with special morning activities lined up for those lucky enough to get tickets. Staying the night at Camp Crystal Lake on Friday the 13th sure sounds horrifying. I wonder if a certain someone will show up. Now for the bad news. Because slots are limited, not everyone who wants to go is going to be able to. Those interested in going will need to fill out an entry form from the tickets page of the official website. On March 5th, names will be chosen lottery style with emails sent to the lucky entrants with details on how to complete your ticket purchases. Be quick, no response in 24 hours means you lose your spot. This seems to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so best of luck to all of you trying to get a ticket. You can find out more information about the tours and the special event at the Crystal Lake Tours official website, and we will have that link in our show notes. And you are listening to EMZT Radio. From an article from hiddenremote.com, Santa Clarita Diet Season 2 premiere date announced. Having just announced a premiere date set for late March, where does the Netflix zombie horror comedy go from here? The Drew Barrymore, who's celebrating a birthday February 22nd, and Timothy Olyphant, starring original Netflix series, is coming back, not from the dead, for another season. What will happen next for the suburban real estate husband and wife duo of Sheila and Joel Hammond as they search for answers behind the former's transformation into human flesh-craving zombie? The season 1 finale found Sheila and Joel inviting Dr. Cora Wolf, played by Portia de Rossi, a scientist obsessed with finding a cure for the undead, to their home to see if an ancient Serbian remedy she has uncovered and adapted to modern science would do the trick. But due to some trouble securing the bile of a pure-blooded Serb and a run-in with the law resulting in Joel being institutionalized, Dr. Wolf wasn't able to perform the exorcism. Deadline reports the Hammonds will be attempting to fit back into society in Season 2 despite Sheila's condition while looking for the source of the virus to stop it spreading. But due to the nature of Sheila's eating habits, the truth of the matter is getting harder and harder to cover up, and people are starting to ask questions. According to a first look from Entertainment Weekly, the new season will host a variety of guest stars including Joel McHale, Maggie Lawson, Zachary Knighton, and more. Santa Clarita Diet Season 2 premieres worldwide on Netflix March 23rd, and I will be watching it because I'm hooked on this series. It's fucking hilarious, and you should give it a try. And you're listening to EMZT Radio.
Do you like science fiction, action, and adventure?
Hours of constant cleaning-based sexual innuendo?
The sound of the whole table yelling at one guy for rolling poorly.
Inspirational anecdotes?
And have you ever fantasized about having your head being massaged by a psychic?
If so, follow the adventures of the crew of the Irritated Badger on the Chaotic Goodness podcast, coming every Monday on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere else you find your podcasts.
Space adulting's hard.
This article was just too good to pass up. From HorrorFreakNews.com, Top 10 period horror movies from a male perspective. It's Women in Horror Month, so it seems like the perfect time to explore femininity in all our beloved genre, specifically the ways menstruation is portrayed. The paradox of the vagina is that it fascinates most men, and many women, but can also be a source of immense fear and dread. Misunderstandings about the realities of menstruation paired with societal taboos and primal, visceral reactions to blood have turned a natural cycle into something terrifying. Ghostbusters, 1984. When interviewing a female librarian after a supernatural encounter, Dr. Peter Venkman asks, "Are you, Alice, menstruating right now?" While it's just one in a tidal wave of one-liners the characters deliver throughout the film, it illustrates a societal belief that menstruating women aren't thinking clearly and are prone to overreactions. It actually echoes back to Gothic fears of hysterical femininity. Excision, 2012. A film that will absolutely cripple anyone with an irrational fear of menstruation, Excision is the first entry in Richard Bates Jr.'s loosely connected coming-of-age trilogy, followed by Suburban Gothic and Trash Fire. It features a female protagonist who becomes sexually aroused by the sight of blood, leading to some cringingly uncomfortable moments. The film's title is a synonym for cut, a word used as derogatory term for vaginas. Often classified as a horror comedy, Excision goes to some seriously dark places, concluding with a gut punch that will leave you paralyzed. Tonight She Comes, 2017. Perhaps the only film that pushes the boundary farther than Excision is Tonight She Comes, a film written and directed by Matt Stewart's, and yes, the title is a double entendre, an exercise in terror for the gynophobia set. This film is also an apt metaphor for female sexual frustration. The subtext is deep, if you can make it past the gore. Ginger Snaps, 2000. It wasn't until Ginger Snaps that we realized how lycanthropy is the perfect metaphor for menstruation. The idea of a full moon turning someone into a raving monster correlates exactly with societal attitudes equating menstruation with erratic behaviors, as though women on their periods are possessed by evil forces. This alignment makes us wonder how men ever became werewolves in the first place. It Stains the Sands Red, 2017. We groaned with sick laughter when the main character in It Stains the Sands Red uses a bloody tampon to distract a zombie, but this moment, like the film itself, is deceptively funny, disguising very serious subtext. Molly, played by Brittany Allen, is fighting for her survival during the early days of an apocalypse, yet even under these unique circumstances, she can't escape the perils of her sex, specifically menstruation and vulnerability to rape. Don't let that bum you out, though. It Stains the Sands Red is a story of triumph. Carrie, 1976. It was Carrie's first period that caused her telekinetic powers to emerge, a correlation that exemplifies our simultaneous fear of and fascination with menstruation in horror movies. When Carrie's mom reacts in angry disgust, we feel ashamed for our tortured anti-hero, uncertain how to regard her transition into womanhood. Her powers intensify at the film's climax, an event also triggered by a mighty gush of blood. This once again presents menstruation as an embarrassing yet powerful occurrence. It, 2017. Pennywise terrorizes his victims by subjecting them to their worst fears. For Bev Marsh, played by Sophia Lillis, it manifests as menstrual blood. A lot of it. But it isn't the blood or the process she fears, rather what it represents. Her undeniable transition into womanhood. What she truly fears are the advances of her father, who finds himself succumbing to base desires as Beverly begins to look more and more like her deceased mother. Menstruation signals the inevitability of sex with all its darkest consequences. The Reaping, 2007. There's more than just a little blood in the water. An entire river runs red in The Reaping. A paranormal debunker traces the source of a town's religious paranoia to a young woman, one they fear will unleash a litany of biblical plagues upon them. It can hardly be considered a coincidence that the river of blood coincides with the young woman's first period. The film illustrates how much of today's ingrained aversions to menstruation comes from misinterpretations from the Bible, specifically those that equate the cycle with sin and or a curse. Tale of Two Sisters, 2004. A Tale of Two Sisters focuses on the relationship between siblings and their stepmother. While the three characters are all very different, they all get their periods on the same day. Though not a reoccurring motif, writer-director Kim Ji-woon wants us to notice, as this sameness becomes integral to the film's central themes. When stripped of societal expectations and external differentiations, we are all people, and most of us are plagued by guilt and regret. Alien Tampon, 2015. It's a hilarious name in itself. I just couldn't get over that one. If you're wondering why you never heard of this movie, it's because the trailer is the movie. Or rather, there is no movie, only a faux trailer for an imaginary movie called Alien Tampon. If you're thinking it could be a movie, you're not alone, as the folks at Chinzilla Films made it as proof of concept for a potential feature film. Obviously, one has yet to manifest, perhaps proving that while most men, and many women, remain fascinated by vaginas, just putting something into one can't necessarily be stretched into a movie plot, no matter how creative and or funny the idea seems. And you are listening to EMZT Radio. EMZT Radio is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/EMZT. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. For you, the listeners of EMZT Radio Podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. That's audibletrial.com/EMZT.
All right, that's going to wrap things up for this week's EMZT Radio. Want to thank Augie and Bessy again for coming on the show. Hopefully they'll be back a little bit later on. Of course, we got the open door policy here for any of our guests. If you liked what you heard and want to help us out a little bit, Patreon is definitely where to go for that. Patreon, just look up EMZT Radio there or at Maker Support. We are at both places. Just wanted to say hello to everybody out there. Of course, hello to everybody out in the Pottern family. Listen to them as well because, we help promote their podcasts. And, they're good people. So you'll laugh your ass off at quite a few of them. And some great people there. Some of them do serious. A lot of them do comedy. You'll just enjoy yourself with that. We are going to have a new t-shirt in the shop next week. So stay tuned for that. There will be an announcement on our Twitter and on our Facebook. So if you want updates on what's going on EMZT Land, check those out as well. Of course, this is up on our YouTube channel, which our first Let's Play is going to finally happen. Well, by the time you hear this podcast, I'm sure it will be that night. So anyways, our Let's Play will be up here very soon. As we got some new games we're going to check out. I'll let it be a surprise. Go check out our Twitter, EMZT Radio, or our Facebook page at EMZT Podcast Radio for that. As per usual, you can find us everywhere else, iTunes and all that other good garbage. Until next week, kiddies, it's your friendly neighborhood space pope, the infamous one, and we're out of here.